A story on America's knife-edge midterm elections should probably start here, at a very partisan rally for a candidate. But this story's not going to start there. Instead, it's going to start just down the road, at a convention for twins who are all dressed like Disney characters. I'm here because twins have something important to tell us about voting. Take Aaron and Zach. They grew up together in the same house, the same parents, and they're identical twins. They share 100% of their DNA.
Where would you plot yourself on a left-right spectrum?
Definitely liberal, but yeah, I mean, not all the way to the left, but I mean, very liberal.
Or identical sisters, Julie and Janelle.
Politically, I feel we're very similar.
I think we're similar on everything. We always have the same views on everything.
On everything?
Pretty much.
In fact, all identical twins are highly likely to share the same political views. How unsurprising, you might say. But here's where it gets interesting. Whitney and Haley may look like identical twins, but they're not. They're fraternal twins. They were born at the same time and grew up in the same house, but their DNA is only 50% the same.
I kind of ignore all politics, generally.
And you're running for office.
Yes, I support her, though.
But it's very different.
Yeah.
It turns out that fraternal twins are far less likely to share political views compared to identical twins. That discovery was scientists' first clue that there's a genetic element to our political beliefs. Consider even mirror twins like Lisbeth and Lindsay.
I'm left-handed, she's right-handed. Mm-hmm. Our teeth came in on different sides when we were little. Yeah. She has 3 boys, I have 3 girls. It just seems like everything is opposite.
Physically opposite, but their political views? Not so much. Do you share similar political opinions?
Yeah, we do share very similar political opinions. Yes. We are both very conservative, and I mean, I don't know how to explain that.
And are you active in politics at all?
A little bit, but both of us are just a little bit.
Yeah.
In fact, all identical twins are likely to not only lean in the same direction, they're likely to lean equally far in that direction.
How's it going?
Yeah. Good, we're having fun.
Twins research was the first step in what today is known as Geno Politics, or the biology of voting. In the last decade, Geno Politics research has moved out into the population at large, and the results are fascinating. Distinct groups of voters, they're also biologically distinct. To find out how distinct, you have to come here, to this football stadium, strangely enough, just a short drive from the Identical Twin Convention. The stadium is part of the University of Nebraska, and it houses some of the world's leading research in political biology.
The sort of stuff that we're doing, it's really, really new. I mean, we're still trying to convince people that it's real. All right, guys, come on into the lab.
Kevin Smith and John Hibbing have been hooking up plenty of liberals and conservatives to their machines.
So who's first?
I'm first.
All right, let's get you on back there.
For today, we've recruited Allison, a liberal activist, and Jill, a conservative campaigner.
Nice. Good luck.
Thanks.
Once they're hooked up to just a few of the lab sensors, we can see their heart rate, perspiration rate, and facial muscle contraction. All we need is something for them to respond to. In their research, Hibbing and Smith use a variety of images, sounds, smells, and a whole range of carefully selected stimuli. But today, they've allowed me to choose the stimulus. And I picked political attack ads from this election campaign.
Evil forces around the world want to harm Americans every day. Their entry into our country through Arizona's backyard.
Like this one, suggesting Democrats' border policies could be allowing terrorists to enter via Mexico.
National Guard to the border against
Smith knows that Allison is frowning, even when she's not aware of it.
Pelosi against providing funds to secure the border.
You can see the big red spike on the screen.
We can tell when her frowny muscle is firing. So we've probably got a much better than chance shot of figuring out when she's looking at a negative picture.
Dangerous world. Patrick votes with
That
them.
is one
And
tiny
keeps
data
Arizona
point,
vulnerable.
knowing that Allison frowned right here.
Their entry into our country through Arizona's backyard. Yet
Allison reacts in all the ways that Kevin Smith had suspected that a young liberal would.
You see sort of like a second or two afterwards, your skin conductance starts to go up, and that would sort of like indicate you've had a negative reaction, and then your sympathetic nervous system is getting aroused by it a little bit.
Interesting.
Jill, my Republican volunteer, on the other hand, was much less reactive to the ads.
It was much higher, but we're getting pretty clean signals. Not as much reactivity on this readout.
Capture enough of these different physical reactions from different people and compare them, as well as comparing the actual DNA of the subjects, and patterns emerge. Patterns that show that people on the left and the right really do experience the world differently. For example, if you flash 4 images in a quadrant, one is an uninteresting car, another a plain tree, but you also include a scary spider and a delicious-looking cake, the liberal will actually see the cake before she even sees the rest of the quadrants. Her eye will jump straight there in a microsecond. Liberal biology seems to be very efficient at finding rewards in their environment. A conservative eye may not jump to any one thing that quickly, but when it hits the spider, it will linger for fractions of a second longer. Conservatives tend to have an edge in assessing danger in the environment.
What conservatives seem to pay more attention to, what they're more responsive to, are aversive images, negative images. People on the left tend to be more responsive to hedonic, positive, pleasurable things. They tend to orient on those. And if you look at it from the position of the left and the right, I mean, the right are often accusing the left of, you're not paying attention to the threat of immigration. And, you know, people on the left are often accusing the right of paying too much attention to these, these threats that they think are non-existent and not paying enough attention to the good things in life.
Researchers in political biology are slowly teasing out more and more markers in the different ways that conservatives and liberals hear, smell, sweat, and even respond to sugar. This research has been shocking to many, but the idea of a political predisposition doesn't shock Dallas Jones, a Republican running for a seat in the Nebraska state legislature.
People see the very same thing drastically differently. You'll hear people say regularly on both sides of the aisle, I don't understand how they can even see it that way. What planet are they from? Well, that's evidence to me that they probably need to understand what planet they're from.
In the interests of science, I decided to get tested too, to find out what planet I'm from. My results pointed to a deep biological conservatism.
Whoa! Yeah.
Which is funny, because I never thought of myself that way.
When do you want to do it?
In actual fact, the edge that political biologists currently have in predicting your beliefs is just 15% better than chance. And yet even that 15% is enough to make this research deeply unpopular, with many on both the left and right.
They want to believe that this is a product of rationality, that this is something that I've thought about. It's not something that has anything to do with my biology. You know, convincing people that that is not incorrect, but an incomplete view of how people arrive at their political attitudes and behaviors, it takes a lot of work and a lot of data.
Of all the people I spoke with, the people who were most accepting of the idea of a genetic predisposition were the mirror twins. A liberal and a conservative sweat differently. They smell
wow.
differently.
Did you get chills?
Yeah, I did.
I got chills too.
The twins are right. This is really exciting stuff. That's why I didn't start the story here, at the rally for Nebraska's midterm candidates. Because after almost 2 decades of reporting politics, I suddenly approach rooms like this one differently.
And who wouldn't want to do that? And again,
It's suddenly somehow easier to agree to disagree.
People think, if I can just sit down and give this person enough information who's on the opposite end from me, they will see the world my way. don't bank on it. The people on the opposite end of the ideological spectrum quite literally see and experience a different world from you. And once people on both sides recognize that, rather than going for persuasion, you know, it's my way or the highway, you know, it probably becomes a lot easier to figure out the best that I can achieve is compromise.
Compromise is not going to be easy. The Republicans are set to gain ground in these elections and possibly win control of the Senate, setting the stage for renewed confrontation with the country's Democratic president.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that you will support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic?
The nation will need to learn to compromise. Perhaps accepting how deep their differences go is a good first lesson.